Thank you very much for staying on the program. Over 1,700 retired soldiers are demanding unpaid allowances and gratuities from the Ghana Armed Forces and the Defense Ministry. The soldiers say they have not received their full emoluments despite several letters and petitions to the Defense Ministry and the Ghana Armed Forces. Some of the aggrieved ex-servicemen came by Joy News complaining they are struggling to survive without the funds and are being sent home on compulsory leave. WO1 John Tess speaks for the angry ex-military men.
Our main concern is our pension pay. We are saying the Ghana Armed Forces underpaid us because for all reliable information we had, the Ministry of Finance has released the money to the Ghana Armed Forces. And we have a copy of a pay advisory slip from the Forces Pay Office that says that they use the old method of assessing pension gratuity to work our pension pay. And even they've stated it in the pension advisory slip that our 20% and the 100% was paid, they used the old pay to pay us. And even in it they said that when government approved funds for them, then they will reimburse it. And 4 years down the line, they've not given us. You see, and
how much were they supposed to give you?
Well, that is why we wrote the letters and we copied the Ministry of Finance, because the whole thing is shrouded in secrecy. And I don't see why pay and allowances of soldiers should be a secret. It has the lowest degree of precedence that is restricted. In other words, the lowest classification. So pay and allowance of soldiers is not a secret or a top secret document whereby you say the unauthorized disclosure will be prejudicial to the interest of the state.
Okay, so tell me something. I don't get it. Is it that your pensions that are supposed to be paid is what is not being paid?
They've given us our pension pay, but the money they gave us is not what the Ministry of Finance approved for them to give us. The Ministry of Finance released 80,000 Ghana cedis plus as their 80%. That is 800 million old Ghana cedis. We were given 14,000 Ghana cedis. That is 140 old Ghana cedis.
And by that you mean the previous batch holding the same ranks as you?
Holding the same ranks. W1, 88, 89, they took 80,000 Ghana cedis. We have a copy of all the letters. The one the Ministry of Finance approved for them. We have a copy. They gave us a copy. Our transport allowance, they gave us 400 Ghana cedis. They had 24,000 Ghana cedis. Why the disparity? What has informed the disparity? This is what we are asking for. You see, and as they themselves have stated that they use the old method of assessing pension pay to pay us our gratuity instead of the single spine. So we are demanding that the single spine, what the Ministry of Finance approved for us, that is what we are demanding that they should give us.
Now, you've been making this demand for quite some time. How many of you are affected by this?
Like I said, we are close to 1,700 soldiers.
You've written a number of letters to authorities for answers. They haven't responded. What's your next line of action? Oh, for tomorrow, we've sent a message to all our colleagues, because tomorrow we gave the Parliament, what do you call it? Speaker of Parliament. We gave him a letter yesterday, and then the chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defence and Interior, we gave them a copy yesterday. So we've decided that tomorrow we will go there to meet them personally.
Ghana is not doing enough to combat human trafficking. That's according to the latest annual Trafficking in Persons report issued by the U.S. State Department. The report rates 188 countries on their efforts to stamp out trafficking in persons. Countries were ranked in 4 levels. Ghana dropped from last year's 2nd rank to 3rd rank. Fred Smith has been studying this report and tells us more.
Well, the report describes Ghana as a source, transit and destination point for men, women and children who are trafficked or subjected to forced labor and sex trafficking. It says, and I quote, Ghanaian boys and girls are subjected to forced labor within the country in fishing, domestic business, street hawking, begging, artisanal gold mining, and that's what we describe as galamsey here. There's actually a local name for it. Agriculture, among others. And it says child prostitution is prevalent in the Volta region and is growing in the western region, where oil production has begun some 5 years ago. And it adds that there has been an increase in the number of Ghanaian girls from the northern regions who come in to become head porters that there's also a local name for it, Kayaye, for that. And all of these people are at risk of sex trafficking and forced labor. Well, according to the reports, Ghanaian women are trafficked to the United Arab Emirates in the hospitality industry especially, and they end up not getting the jobs that they are promised before they travel, and so they are forced into prostitution and other vices so they can survive, and most of these people are abused in the process. Well, the report is mentioning that some of these people who are engaged in this trafficking end up trafficking them to West African countries, and also they mentioned Germany and to the United Arab Emirates. They're saying that it's become very difficult for government to deal with it because there are reports of corruption within the judicial system, but no action has been taken to deal with it, and so that is frustrating efforts at dealing with this trafficking issue.
The health sector is in crisis. That's the verdict of former Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Elias Sori. The comment comes as medical doctors across the country threaten to resign en masse if government fails to conclude their conditions of service by end of today. The doctors have been agitating for better conditions of service, without which they are not prepared to work with government. Junior doctors withdrew their services early this week over their 11-month salary arrears, a situation which affected some health centers. Dr. Elias Sori tells Beatrice Edu it is time for government to begin proper planning to avert serious implications.
I always say it is sad that as professionals we are forced in a way to take actions that go against our professional ethics. And it is something that sometimes, but as Director General, I appeal to the conscience of health work to really reconsider all these things. But having said that, I've also said that as policymakers and as employers, sometimes we over-delay in actions that should have been taken earlier to avoid these things. And indeed, when I passed out of the medical school and I was posted in 1983 to go to Bolgatanga, it took me a long time to get my salary. And if from that time it's been so and getting worse, it should not have been so around this time. It is for us to really sit down and look at what steps we will take to make sure that this does not happen.
And you're saying it seems that the country has not really been on this path, which you think could have averted these happenings now.
Exactly.
So,
it's happening over the years.
Looking at the situation now, doctors are threatening to resign en masse, pharmacies are threatening a strike, junior doctors have their own issues happening concurrently. Do you think that the situation has reached a crisis level?
Indeed. For me, it's even long past. Yes, it is a crisis. The human resource is the most important resource in health. Without the human resource, nothing. The patient will not be seen. The equipment we have cannot operate, and the drugs we have cannot be dispensed. It is a critical issue, and that will have been the forerunner in all that we do, trying to resolve these issues that they don't recur. It is for us to take them one at a time and prioritize them as to how we are going to tackle them.
What can be done to deal with this situation so it doesn't get out of hand?
Look, please, let the ministry sit down with the people who are passing out these people and plan as to how these steps will be taken in order to have this resolved.
Now, the Ghana Medical Association, which is given government after the end of day to give them conditions of service, hopes that an agreement will be reached with government before the deadline when it meets with the Labour Relations Minister. Here's Ghana Medical Association President Dr. Kwabena Obokwe-Jise.
That we are still talking with governments. I would say that negotiation has not. We had one of the meetings on Friday. We reached certain agreements, we had certain disagreements. Hopefully, we will meet again today, and we hope that by the close of this, both parties will be satisfied. If there are any issues, we will let the general public know.
If, for instance, you go on this negotiation table and there is no agreement, will you still carry through with your threat to resign en masse?
We don't need to preempt it. Let us wait to the end of the day. We had a roadmap that we published some time ago. Everybody knows about it. And then we set into that some parameters. Let us close the meeting today.
We'll stay on labor-related stories. Aggrieved workers of Starwind Products Limited have resorted to daily prayer sessions at the company's premises as they seek divine intervention in the disputes with their new owners, Danex. Now, Danex, a competitor in the drug manufacturing business, locked up Starwind after acquiring majority shares. The workers say due process was not followed and have been protesting their lockouts. Fred Smith chanced on one such prayer sessions and joins me on the line with detail. Fred, for how long have the workers been holding these prayer sessions? Hello, Fred. Hello, Fred. Well, I believe Fred is unable to hear me. We'll work the telephone lines and raise Fred over the telephone again. I understand that Fred is back over the telephone. Fred, I was asking, how long have the workers been holding these prayer sessions? Hello, Fred. While you're watching Joy News today, there's more to come here. Please stay. You're still watching Joy News today. Now, a brother of the man who has just been imprisoned for illegal gun possession has told Joy News that the Bureau of National Investigations were told about his poor mental health. Charles Entry was arrested on Sunday with a gun in the auditorium of a church President John Mahama attends. By Tuesday, he had been sentenced to 10 years in prison. Kweti Nati visited his home and filed this report.
I'm here at the house of the senior brother of Charles Entry. This is where he spent 4 days before he made his infamous trip to the Assemblies of God Church. This is the very house he came to. It's Green Chamber Hall. I'll be walking you into where he slept, where he communicated with his senior brother, the bag he brought, where he walked, and interactions he had with them. At this very spot I'm standing is where Charles Entry slept. He pulled this table backwards, brought this chair forward, and he laid his mat right here. This is where he slept for 4 days. His intent wasn't known to his brothers. Okay, this is the very bag he brought from Dadieso Aba. I just opened it. It contains his clothing, I can see his towel, and these are the very things.
Well, you're unable to see Kweti Nati's face in that story because Kweti Nati is an undercover reporter here at Joy News, but he's joined us over the telephone with some more details of his visit to the home of this man who's now been sentenced to 10 years in prison. Thank you very much, Kweti, for your time here. Now, you interacted with the brother of Charles Entry. What did he tell you?
He told me that he first gave me the mental history of his brother. He told me that first he traveled to Libya, where he used there as a transit to Italy. He was deported from Italy because of his mental illness. So the family took him to the Tafo government hospital in Kumasi and a fetish pressed, all in an attempt to cure him. The situation improved a bit. His senior brother Kwame Opoku told me. Afterwards, he even built a house for the mother and bought a taxi subsequently. That's what he worked with for some time till he started showing signs of mental illness again. Even the taxi rank where he worked, they more or less sacked him because of certain things he was doing.
I see. Now, beyond that, what did the brother tell you about his last engagement with Charles Entry?
He said that Charles called him. It's been a very long time since he had spoken to Charles. So Charles called him that he wanted to visit him. So he came. That was last week Thursday, and that was the meeting they had. Charles brought her back like you saw, and Charles told him that he wanted to travel to Libya again. So he was in Accra to process his traveling document. So he had no knowledge of what Charles' intentions was, and the bit about him going to the president's church. All he heard on Sunday was that he has been arrested, and before he realized, 8 BNI officials, including Charles, were at his residence, and they interrogated him. Then he had to lead them to Dadir Swaba. That's where they interrogated the mother. They went to the Tafo Government Hospital. They also went to the fetish priest, whom the family took Charles earlier to help cure his mental illness. They also took the BNI officials to the taxi rank where he used to work. And in all these places, they confirmed that, yes, Charles had a mental issue. And it was not new. And in fact, even during the interrogation of Charles at the BNI's office, the responses he was giving wasn't incoherent. So his brother even told me that some of the BNI officials were even laughing because the young man didn't sound mentally stable.
But there are reports that this is not the first time he's eyed the seat of the president. What did the brother tell you about, the first time he heard the news? Was he surprised?
He was surprised, but the bit about him saying he wanted to kill the president wasn't new to the brother because there were such reports. So I asked him whether has Charles shown any symptoms of a mental illness, and he told me that yes, at a point in time he was threatening to kill his own mother. He used to tell the mother that I'll kill you, and for them it was something of an issue of concern. So for him to have added the bit that he wanted to kill the president wasn't anything new.
I see, Kwete, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much. Kwete Nate joined us with details after he engaged brother of Charles Entry, the gunman who's now been sentenced to 10 years in jail. Let's stay on some more crime-related stories. The Kaswa police has arrested a man who's suspected to have murdered the mother of his children. The police say the suspect and the deceased have been arguing over the non-performance of the marriage rites, though they've been together for the past 9 years. Derek Akosam has details, and he's joined us over the telephone. Hello, Derek.
Hello, Camille.
What more can you tell us?
Well, just as you said, I just left the offices of the crime officer, DSP Samuel Musa, who confirmed the story. He says it happened on Saturday, the 25th of July, 2015. According to DSP Musa, the deceased, Rita Kwevi, has been living with the suspect, Yao Kokwe Ete, for the past 9 years. And they've been arguing for the past 2 years over the non-performance of the marriage rites. And so for the past 2 years, the deceased has not been living with the suspect. She moved out to stay with her parents so that when the time came for the suspect to perform the marriage rites, she would have come back to stay in her home. I've also been told that on Saturday, the deceased had a call from the suspect that their 2 kids were not feeling well, and so she had to come over to take care of the kids. And let me also put on record that the suspect is not a pastor of the International Central Gospel Church. I have the pastor of that branch, the old-timers branch of the church, here with me. He's David Paha. I want to talk to you and ask him a few questions.
Right, please go.
Tell us, you have known them for what? How would you describe the relationship between the deceased and the suspect? I will not say it was that of a violent one. In fact, I'm even surprised at what happened. I'm even surprised. But can you also tell us whether they have come to issues about they not performing the right and the woman not wanting to move away? Yes, they've come to me with such an issue before, and then advice. So the lady even went to the father's house, waiting for the guy to just come and perform the marriage right, so that he would just come back and live with them. So we're all surprised when we heard that. We heard it on Sunday that this is what has happened. I mean, went there and then clarified things for myself, and I realized that yeah, it was true. So we are just in a state of shock. We just don't know what happened, what went through his mind before that thing happened. We just don't know. But you have also known the man for quite some time. You say he's been part of the church for the past 3 years. Tell us what you make of the child. Is he a violent person? Does he, as they say, speak too much? Yeah, he's not a violent person. I mean, he's that joke. Yeah, I don't know. Probably maybe because he's not good with the English language. You know, he's from Togo. He's not good with the English language. So he just play around and then like defend everybody. It's not seen anything violent in his character. Fine, in as much as we know that they sometimes, I mean, do quarrel and then maybe fight or something like that, but we've not heard that much of being of a violent person. We've not. What's the position of the deceased, number one, and the suspect in your church? There are reports that the suspect is a member of the church, but of course the crime officer discounted that. The member has gone through what's the name? The membership class, so he has been certificated as he being a member of the church. I mean, that is the only thing I can say. And apart from that, he used to be part of the ushering department, but he stopped. For some time now, he stopped. So I mean, like, that is all I can say about the church. All right, thank you very much. So, Kamini, that is
right now, Derek. We understand that the couple have children. What do we know about the whereabouts of these children?
Well, I understand that when the issue happened, the suspect took the case to Benin. And so what I know is that the children are at Benin as I talk to you now.
I see. What happens now?
Well, what I also know is that the suspects will be arraigned before the Castle Magistrates Court tomorrow at 9 a.m. And so we are keeping our tabs on that one as well. We follow that. And I'm sure we would give viewers and listeners the need information they need to get about this particular case. But what we also know is that, as I said earlier, the man is not a member, is not a pastor of the ICC church.
But we hear also that this man reported himself to the police.
Yes, when the issue came up, what I'm also hearing is that the room was locked as of the time the person who reported the case to the police went there to say hi to the deceased. And so they realized the door was locked. The door to the room was locked. It's a single room. I understand that it's also in an isolated part of Kaswa called Rock City. And so the deceased ran away to Benin earlier, and upon persistent calls from family members, he came down to stop a man, and then from there he reported the case to the Amasaman Divisional Command, and then the Kaswa police was called to come in because the case happened in Kaswa, and that was how come they got him. So the suspect reported himself to the Amasaman Division Police.
Well, Derek, we'll leave it here. We'll continue this conversation in subsequent broadcasts. Derek Acquah joined us from Kaswa, where a man is believed to have killed the mother of his children. And you're watching Joy News today. There's more to come here. Please stay. Welcome. Time for business now. Minister for Public-Private Partnerships Rashid Pelpo has commended workers of the Intercity STC bus service for their commitment to ensuring the company stays in business. The workers have offered to lend half of their salaries for the months of July and August to help the company acquire new buses. After meeting with STC Union, Mr. Pelpo told Joy News that he had been surprised and amazed by the workers' gesture.
After listening to the leadership today and the workers coming together to meet me, I realized the high-level commitment of workers and leadership to lift XTC out of the doldrums. You know, the high point of it is when workers themselves are agreeing to forgo 50% of their salaries in order to secure more buses to run the place. So you know that this is not a time when STC used to be wrecked by workers themselves. Now, so it's a change place, and most importantly, I'm amazed by the high-level commitment of the MD, Dr. Honorable Acquah. I mean, it's so wonderful that workers who didn't understand the link between what they earn every month and what is input for them can now see that they are the owners of the business and that they are willing to even sacrifice to this extent. You know, so it's something that I'm surprised about.
The minority in parliament is accusing government of hiding the true state of the country's indebtedness. They want government to stop its excessive borrowing. Ghana's current public debt stands at over 90 billion Ghana cedis, with concerns the country's borrowing is becoming unsustainable. At a news conference in Accra, minority spokesperson on finance Dr. Anthony Acquah said Ghana has lost control over its finances.
Mr. Minister of Finance, stop massaging figures to please your IMF partners. Reduced expenditure must be accompanied by economic transformation, increased productivity, and a strong private sector. Mr. President, please reduce the debt and deficits and ignite economic growth. We do not want to be told in November that even the high deficit of 7.3 is unachievable. After back-to-back double-digit budget deficits, the Ghanaian people need real fiscal discipline. While many Ghanaians have experienced the burden of lost hope, unemployment, erratic power supply, the Maama administration has expanded its borrowing and spending, its debt and deficit. Ghana's total debt stock as at the end of May 2015, we are told, stood at 90 billion cedis, representing 65.53% of GDP. 67.53, I'm sorry. For a nation that inherited a debt stock of 9.5 billion in January 2009. Let me repeat, 9.5 billion cedis in January 2009. That is 850% of what the NDC inherited from the NPP administration. At this rate, the government is on to increase the debt by tenfold by the end of August. This government keeps on competing with the private sector for money domestically. The effect of the crowding out of the private sector is a high interest rates that businesses have to pay for accessing credit. Yesterday, I was in our finance office and a colleague of ours had sent in a loan application for Standard Bank. The interest rate was 36%. 36%.
So that's the minority spokesperson on finance, Dr. Anthony Acquah. I'm joined in the studio by parliamentary correspondent Elton John Brobe. Elton, so what's the evidence the minorities got to prove that the government is hiding the true country's indebtedness?
Well, first, they are alleging massaging of figures. Secondly, they are saying that the figures contained in the 2014 budget presented to Parliament, government could not achieve any of it. Now, in the supplementary budget, government has reviewed most of these figures. Secondly, the national debt stock, which according to the minister stands at 90 billion Ghana cedis, they are saying that government did not factor in the 1.5 billion euro bond Parliament approved before going on recess, which will come to a close in September. Also, Parliament approved close to over $300 million in loans before it went on recess. So these are some of the figures government failed to incorporate into the 90 billion cedis national debt it presented to the country. So if government will put all this together, the national debt stock will go over 100 billion Ghana cedis. 100
billion Ghana
exactly.
cedis. So more than, like 10 billion more than the 90 billion we are told.
And then we will cross the 70% threshold mark, which means that our debt stock is now 70% of GDP, which places it directly within the HEPEC fraternity.
Whoa, that would be bad for the economy. Yeah. But what alternatives are they providing? Because definitely they're talking about mismanagement. What management options are they providing?
Well, they are asking government, for instance, one of them is they must design policies to support stronger economic growth and reduce a chronic high unemployment. There's also talk about the fact that we need to have a stronger currency. They are saying that even the appreciation of the cedi against the dollar may also be good for those who are exporting outside of Ghana, so we should check that one as well. And then the Bank of Ghana must be up and doing it in checking fiscal discipline on the part of government. Secondly, they are asking questions. Now they are saying that it is not true that the retailers, that is those who are into the selling of petroleum products, are the one fixing prices, as we have been made to understand by the National Petroleum Authority. Indeed, the law that is before Parliament now gives the MPA the power to fix petroleum prices. Now, MPA had made Ghanaians to understand that it is right now the importers who decide on how much they want to sell petrol, and they think that it's illegal. Secondly, MPA has presented a new bill to Parliament that must go through the 21-day maturation period. Whoa. Until that is approved, that is where the fixing of petroleum prices will leave the hands of MPA and go to the OMCs. So until that maturation period comes to an end, MPA still has that authority to fix it. So they should not hide behind the deregulation exercise and say that the OMC are the ones responsible. Indeed, looking at the price of crude oil in the world market now, and the strength of the cedi against the dollar, we should be experiencing more reduction in petroleum products, starting from today.
So that's another thing they're accusing the government of hiding. But thank you very much. That's parliamentary correspondent Elton John Brobe bringing us some more on that news conference by the minority. We'll move on to other stories. And mobile money transfers have become a booming business in Ghana. This has raised suggestions traditional money transfer businesses might be thrown out of business. But as money transfer giant Western Union celebrates 20 years in operation in Ghana, the company is optimistic that they remain as viable as ever in the mobile money transfer era.
With over 34,000 locations in more than 50 countries and territories, the Western Union network serves more than 17 million senders and receivers with a choice of 120 currencies. However, with the recent mobile money transfers offered by the various telcos and commercial banks, many fear Western Union may soon run out of business. President of Western Union for Africa, Jean-Claude Farah, at the celebration of the company's 20 years of operation in Africa, assures customers it is up to the challenge posed by mobile money transfers.
Maybe the moment the mobile money transfer hype started, we felt threatened. But the moment we dug deeper and we went through it and we saw what is needed in order for you to make a mobile money transfer, we've seen it more of an opportunity than a challenge. Let me tell you one thing. Mobile money transfer in one country might happen in a smooth way. It might happen in a fast way. It might happen in an easy way. But the moment you add to this transaction the cross-border element, it becomes extremely difficult. One of the things is, in terms of compliance, who does the compliance when you're sending a transaction cross-border? In terms of regulators, who are the regulators going to trust to be in the middle of that transaction when it is going cross-border? In terms of settlement, who can settle in 120 currencies the same way that Western Union does it? So I would say, instead of us seeing it a threat, we saw it as an opportunity, and you see us partnering with many mobile network operators, and in the future you will see even more of that happening.
Meanwhile, as part of the company's 20th anniversary, Western Union acknowledged the contribution of Agricultural Development Bank for their contribution that offered Western Union money transfer services for the first time in Africa in 1995. Western Union also acknowledged the contribution of Ecobank Ghana for partnering with the company all these years. Meanwhile, Ecobank Ghana and Western Union have developed a new service called account-based money transfer, which allows you to receive your Western Union money transfer through your Ecobank account.
Well, that's it for business with me, Francisca Kakra Forcing.
Well, that's it for the program this hour. If you'd like to read some news, visit myjoyonline.com. My name is Kemini Nyamani. I'm on a thanks for staying through. Goodbye.